to be able to convince three absolutely brilliant women to join me today. And then the gift keeps giving. I was able to convince a fourth. So today we are going to have Janelle Kelman. I don't know if you know her as the Sausalito mayor. She was formerly the Sausalito mayor, and now she's running for lieutenant governor. Primaries on June 2nd. And we're going to be able to have her kind of open the night for us. So I'm going to let her speak, and then I'll walk you guys through the formatting for the rest of the event. Janelle, do you want to come on out?
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Hi, everybody. Well, welcome, and thank you all for joining us. I love seeing so many powerful, kick-ass women in one room. Thank you. Thank you. I needed that deeply, deeply. My name is Janelle Kelman, and as Nikita very graciously mentioned, I live here in Sausalito. I'm the former mayor of Sausalito, and now I'm running for lieutenant governor of California. And the reason I think Nikita invited me here is because I think deeply about legacy. I think deeply about the next generation. That's basically my life right now, you guys. As I go up and down California, I think about what does it mean to have a legacy and to make that imprint for the future. And it's funny, I was watching the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship this weekend. Thank you, my people in the crowd. You may not know this, but UCLA, right, won the national championship. That was a big deal. And so I watched the game, and then I watched the press conference. And in the press conference, the coach is one of the best coaches in the NCAA, Coach Corey Close, said, I set out to recruit uncommon, courageous women who were willing to do uncommon things so that we could have uncommon results. And we did it. And that stuck with me because I thought about you three. Uncommon, courageous women who have very truly left an impact on all of us and a legacy, a word that I think we all talk about and really strive to understand, because isn't that what we as humans want to achieve, a legacy, a sense of purpose? And I'm often reminded, the Japanese have a word for this philosophy. Anybody know the word ikigai? Ikigai. So imagine 4 concentric circles: what you are good at, what you want to do, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. What you can get paid for. And then where they overlap, that is your passion and your purpose. But the thing about ikigai and finding your passion and your purpose is that it only happens in relationship to community. It can't exist by itself. And so when I think about legacy, it's not just what you build to be admired or what you build to achieve a measure of success. It's what you build so that others can build upon it. That is a true legacy. And I'm betting it wasn't easy. In fact, I did a little reading, and I understand true leadership takes courage. And all of us have faced adversity in some way, shape, or form. And the interesting thing about these women is that they've overcome it. Life threw things at you, but you stayed resolute, you stayed focused, you had your vision, and you showed up. And the thing that nobody teaches you in school is that we don't grow when we're left in a place of comfortableness. We grow when we're faced with challenges. And I think that confidence is not something that somebody gives to you. It's something that you earn when you conquer hard things. And sometimes you have to go all the way to the edge. And the edge is where your talent runs out, and your skills and your discipline have to take you to a whole new level. And most people don't like the edge because it's uncomfortable there. But if you are willing to meet adversity well, you can buy yourself a ticket to a whole journey you wouldn't have had otherwise. And so, for me, up and down the state, thinking about legacy, thinking about adversity and how we overcome, I think, how do we as human beings, how do we as Californians find practical solutions to big problems? How do we make this state more affordable? How do we make sure our kids can live here? We can breathe clean air and swim in clean water. We're very lucky here tonight. And so I'll just leave you with a few things. This one lands really, really deeply for me. Number one, legacy is what happens when you build something that enables somebody else to achieve something bigger. It doesn't stop with you. And one of the places where it starts, I think, in California is small businesses. Small business is the economic lifeblood of this state. It is an anchor for communities. It's a place where people gather. And you can't talk about small business without talking about workforce development. This is not just about the success at the top. It's the ladder that enables others to reach that height. And it also has to be about education. One of the things I talk about every opportunity I get is I believe in free community college for all Californians. Because that is how we open up economic opportunity. And so I just invite you all to sit back, to enjoy the fact that these incredible, brave businesswomen have made a mark on each of us, have made a mark, I think, on what we think when we think about small business and success and growth, and have created a legacy, a true legacy, where the rest of us can build upon that for the future. So deeply, deeply feeling gratitude to all three of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time, and we can't wait to learn from you. So big round of applause for all these three women. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I can't wait.
Thank you so much, Janelle. I'm going to start by just introducing myself. I've met a couple of you at a couple of events we've done here and not had the pleasure yet of meeting the rest. My name's Nikita. I own the venue that we're all sitting in, and we do a lot of events here, right? So you think weddings and things like that. But recently, we've been trying to invest in something, I don't know, self-development, if you want to call it that. I started off really, really young, and there was a lot of expensive lessons that I had to learn. Some as silly as, I think the first time I walked into like a bank, they were like, "How do you want your money?" I was like, "In an envelope." They did not laugh this way. They were like, "Oh, she's due." And so expensive lessons. And I sort of along that path was like, why am I doing this? There are people that know the answers to this. And as a civilization, we should be making new mistakes. I don't want to make the same mistakes that somebody before me made. I want to make new mistakes. I want to learn from what people are doing and then take at least one more level up. And even if I make a mistake there, I want my mistake to be memorable, right? And so as I kind of dealt with how am I going to make this happen, I started to have a lot of one-on-one conversations with people as brilliant as Joan, Susan, Margaret, Janelle, and probably most of the people sitting in this room, right? And I said, how does your brain work? And how do you end up in situations where you're able to figure out what to do next, right? How do you see a challenge and what do you see about it, right? When you're being pulled in 10 directions, how do you prioritize? How do you decide what your end goal is, right? There's just so many questions that come up. And that's kind of how this conversation started. I said, you know what? What I want to learn, how do you build something that outlives yourself and be proud of what you're leaving, right? The only thing that'll outlive you is your company, is your last name, is your kids, hopefully not your friends and things like that. But like, you know, it's the people and the experiences that you leave with people, right? And you don't get to take any money with you. You don't get to take anything else. And so I said that if I'm doing this for myself, I would love to do this for other people too. I'd love to have something where we can all learn from each other's experiences and get better, make new mistakes. And that's kind of how this series started. This is the first one. And I'm, again, like I keep saying this, I cannot believe, thank you. Thank you. And thank you guys. Like I cannot believe that I get to say inaugural evening with Joan Barnes, Margaret O'Leary, Susan Griffith. It's crazy to me, right? Like 2 years ago, I would have never believed that I get to say those names in the same sentence as my own. And so I just want to soak like every ounce of knowledge that I can. And they probably are like, oh God, she's asking more questions. But I want to soak everything that they have to offer. And that's what this is about. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Joan and we'll get the conversation going. Okay, perfect. So for all of you that do not know Joan already, what a shame, because very, very marvelous woman. She was the founder of Gymboree, the iconic children's brand that began in the 1970s as a parent-child play and music program in San Francisco. When what started as a community-focused concept quickly evolved into a global retail and lifestyle brand known for its colorful, coordinated children's clothing, Joan scaled Gymboree into an international business with hundreds of stores, redefining how brands connected with families, creating a model that blended experience with retail long before it became the standard. Joan, anything you want to say about how impressive you are?
I just wondered who that person was you were talking about. Thank you.
I don't know if you guys know this. This wasn't the dream, right? Joan didn't come into it being like, I am going to build the model for what all clothing brands can come after, right? And so we're going to get into that. So as a lot of us have already talked about, legacy, right? Legacy is a very, very strange thing. It is the only thing that you build that will outlive you. It's the only thing that you really do not get to experience. So let's start there. Joan, when you first started, before any of this existed, what did you want your name to mean when people remembered it?
You know, you mentioned this hello, it's nice to see everybody. I see a lot of friends here. I feel like I'm in my community. I recognize so many people, and I'm really flattered that everybody's coming to hear me and my dear friends, Susan and Margaret, who we've been friends for, 30 years or something. So it's really important to me. And Nikita, thank you for putting this on. It's a little bit daunting to me to talk about legacy because I never set out to build anything, let alone a legacy. I was just a lonely, isolated mom who had a child in the lowest birth year ever, 1973, and I was looking for community. Like Janelle said, nothing really happens in isolation. And I just wanted some friends. I wanted comrades. There weren't any. And it was actually what they called the DINKs, double income, no kids. And so it was a very strange thing to have a family, to choose kids, and then to try to meet other people who were doing that. And I just thought I would add also that I just remember at 8 years old watching my mother thinking, I don't want this life. I didn't know what I would do, but I did not want to be a 50s housewife. And I just set out to make sure that I didn't do that. It just did not appeal to me, anything about that. So, the roots of Gymboree, like so many of entrepreneurial ventures, came from a need, my wanting to make friends. So I started very humbly at the Jewish Community Center in a job share where I started the program for them, and it took roots. And then the then president of the board of the Jewish Community Center saw some commercial potential, and he reached out to me and said, would you like to do this as a business? I'll put up the money and you run it. And I thought, sure. You know, I'm in my 20s. I don't really know much. I'm no Nikita, for sure. I had no big vision. I just was looking to see what I could do. And that's what I did. And then a couple of years later, I thought, I'm doing all the work. And I bought him out. I took a second mortgage on my house without the then husband knowing about it, and bought and doubled the partner's money. He put up $3,000, and I bought him out for $6,000. And that's all the money I ever put into that company. So, I mean, it wasn't like a goal not to put up money. I raised plenty of money from venture capital firms over the years, but I think I'll just leave it there until you get the next question.
Again, it's just so baffling to me that you were like, I'm just going to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then you have this empire that is Gymboree.
Yeah, well, it doesn't, I mean, Susan and Margaret will, and other entrepreneurs that I know out in the audience will tell you it doesn't really happen like that. There's a lot of inversions, downfalls, curves, upsets, and so forth. And it is, as you said, and Janelle said, it is from the inversions that we grow and learn and make it happen. And I would just say for myself, it wasn't that I solved the problem so much as I was unwilling to let the company die on my watch.
I like that. I have to frame that in my room. Do not let the company die on my watch.
Well, I don't really know why. 25 years of therapy later, I'm not sure why I was so dedicated to making this thing not sink. Because it could have sunk a million times and probably almost did. But for some reason, I was just unwilling to make it go down. And I also have another sort of interesting mom story because I'm sort of the first generation of women that actually did something outside the house. And if even the women my age, maybe they were a part-time school teacher or a nurse, but those were the professions that women could have, and even very few of them did. And I remember as I was building Gymboree in Mill Valley and going on Saturday morning to the soccer field to watch my kids, which I really didn't want to do. I just wanted to stay home and rest from a week. And I remember all the moms pointing at me and going, "There's Joan Barnes," like I was a pariah. And I knew that I was not one of them, and they didn't like that I was out to do something other than what they were up to. And I remember thinking, I could stop right now. I wasn't like I wasn't self-aware, and I wasn't checking my own motives. And I thought, if I stopped about now, I could probably reintegrate into this world and have a little side hustle like it was. And I thought, but I don't want to. I want to keep building.
Again, like every time you say something, I've been doing this to her from the day we first met. Every time she says something, I'll just keep listening. I won't think about what to say next. And then like I'll go down and write it down. I'll be like, note to self. But what do you feel like your name is known for today? Obviously everybody has a perception, right? You've heard mine are glowing, glowing, glowing reviews. What do you see as your name? What do you think that carries today?
A lot of fantasy. I think people fantasize, I really don't love this, but I know I am the Gymboree lady, And with that comes, oh my goodness, she built a public company. Oh, Bain Capital took it off the public market for $2 billion in 2010. And that all sounds extremely impressive, but it didn't really mean much to me. It just did not, sort of as I stand where I am now, at almost 80 years old, I feel my legacy is that I'm the matriarch of my family, and I'm a grandmother, and my grandkids are, as old as Nikita, So I didn't think about it then, because right at that point in the building of Gymboree, the most important thing to me was to build a business and I used to laugh, say, gosh, maybe this thing's going to outlive me. Sort of like, I'm going to be like Sears, because Sears actually just started a couple years before me. And I thought, wow. But it wasn't a goal. I never expected that to happen. And, and Gymboree went through bankruptcies. It subsequently had new lives. And it's just gone through a gazillion twists and turns. But I do remember I wrote a memoir maybe about 8 or 9 years ago. And because I didn't care about my name being synonymous with this, when I went to try to sell the memoir and talk to the different publishers and agents, they said, we're going to need a couple years. Everybody knows Gymboree, but nobody knows you. And I thought, I like it that way. I like being incognito. I like being able to take a hike in my pajamas. So that was interesting to me that I don't know, maybe when Margaret and Susan talk, they'll mention, and Margaret, of course, her brand is her name. So, it's synonymous. But that was never a goal of mine, to build something specifically that outlived me, but it looks like it will.
It definitely will. So I think the biggest question is how did it happen, right? So you did like I said, you did the next thing and you did the next thing and you did the next thing. Why did you continue? Why?
It's pretty much what I said earlier. I wouldn't let the business fail. I was not going to let it go down on my watch. I felt responsible to the investors, to the venture capitalists. In the 80s, it was a lot of money to have raised $6 to $8 million. Now it's startup money, but then it was considered considerable money. And we'd gotten the Harvard Endowment Fund and Chemical Bank of New York. We had some really prestigious investors. But in terms of what it would mean to me to have failed, $6,000. It was not, but it's much deeper than that. At least for me, it was. It was just a sense of my worthiness. I was never, and one of my daughters said to me recently, Mom, did you ever think about what else you could have done? No, never thought about anything else. I was going to make that business. I might have, my marriage crumbled because I wasn't available to my husband. I had au pairs that basically raised my kids. And as I said, I still really can't analyze. Maybe I still need a better therapist. If you guys got one, let me know. Why I kept at it like that. It did succeed. I ended up in a treatment center with a nervous breakdown. So, I mean, but by that time, I'd gotten to the company to profitability. So I felt like I had done my job. But there were so many twists and turns. And we started out as a place program. I started franchising it. It went very well, but the franchise business was a flawed model financially. So the investors said, okay, go figure it out, but no more money. And instead of saying, okay, well, I guess that was a good run, I'm out of here, we went into licensing and got some very prestigious licenses, Random House, and we did our books and some very big companies. And a year later, they dropped us because we weren't Snoopy or Garfield or the great comic strips or movies of the time. So now it was like, okay, figure it out again. So there was just one thing after another, and I'm not self-grandizing the fact that I was able to come through it all, because it keeps that theme of no failing. So whatever it would take. So then Hasbro was going to buy us, and then we're in New York to sign the papers, and the investors and the lawyers and all that is there, and then they call me and tell me the deal's off. So at that point, I was pretty sure that the company was going to die. But then I'm thinking now about the community aspect that everybody brought up. And when I got back to California and told my staff that the Hasbro deal had gone kaput, I said, I'm done. I'm not done running the business, but I'm plumb out of ideas. We've tried everything. And so I said, I'm going to go up to I had a little cabin in the woods, which was my restoration place. I'm going to go up there, and you guys, if you don't mind, would you work over the weekend? You're my guys. You're going to figure this out. And they did. And when I came back, they said there was a picture on my desk of a retail store and the play centers. And I'd already my investor had already sent me to the Gap, and I met Don Fisher, and he said, I think they would be interested in doing a Gymboree brand of clothing. And he said, it's a wonderful idea, Joan, but you should know we're opening Gap Kids in 6 months. So I thought, oh, great, if we ever do get any funding and ever get to build it, we're going to go up against the most formidable retailer in the world. And we did. And so, it's just keeping at it for reasons, as I said, I don't really understand, but that's what I did.
Well, keeping with the idea of taking care of the people around you and really relying on them, I'm going to bring on Susan. Susan, do you want to come join us? You can stay. Yeah, you can stay up. Just don't whisper about her. I'm always worried. The reason that we split it into 3 is when you put the 3 of them together, they chat so much and they're such good friends that every time I was like, okay, we got to split this up. So we're gonna try our luck and we're gonna see how this goes. So Susan Griffin Black is the co-founder and co-CEO of EO Products that you can see right here next to me, a company that helped pioneer the natural personal care movement in the U.S. She started the brand in 1995 alongside her partner and then husband, Brad Black, with a focus on organic ingredients, sustainability, and transparency, long before these were industry buzzwords. Under her leadership, EO grew from a small, handmade operation into a nationally distributed brand known for products like Everyone's Soap, EO Essential Oils, the bath oils that you guys are going to take home with you. And while staying committed, and this is the most impressive part, she did not compromise a single one of her major values going into it. She kept distribution in-house, and when there was a chance to get a payout, She did not pay herself out. She took the smallest salary that she could possibly take, and she bought a distribution channel because she bought a manufacturing channel because she said, I am not going to give up on my rose extract. And she gets the inside joke, but it was just like a very iconic line where she was like, I'm not going to give it up. I have a rose extract that I got to protect, which is one of the ingredients in her product. Anything you want to say about the introduction?
No, thank you. And I just see so many familiar faces, and just a reminder of how important community is and why this is our 31st year in business. And and just how great it is to sit next to my friends.
So I'm going to ask you the same thing that I asked you. Legacy is a strange thing. It's going to outlive you. What did you go into it wanting? What did you want your name to mean to the world?
It was never about my name. It was more about how do we create a company that we want to work for and pay the bills. You know, when Brad and I met, my son was maybe 5. And so I was a single mom at that point. And so it was a matter of, and also I'm a very practical person. And I fell in love with this idea of essential oils that I encountered on a trip to London. But the thing about it was they were real, and they were plants, and they were flowers. And I walked into this apothecary and I took one breath and the room turned platinum, and I was so sure that this is what I was going to do next, no matter what. But I never thought about the money as the money or the build for material reasons. Yes, for practical reasons, because, we had kids and a family and had to support ourselves. But it was really about, can we find something that we love to do, put our heart and soul into it, and experience community and meaning and integrate our whole lives so that, you're not at work doing this thing and then you come home and then you have a family. Like the whole thing is kind of built together with the same values. So you're the same person dealing with different issues, but wherever you go, there you are for real. And so that was the test of, can we do that? And I would say, for the most part, we have. And so I would also say that at this point, the reason that we haven't sold is because we never had a good enough deal that felt right. And so many, many years later, with the kindest, best, most patient group of angel investors that anyone could ever have, we're sort of making our way out of those relationships so that we can head into the next phase, which will be our children, hopefully. We'll see how that goes. But also just the team of people that we have working for us now are really highly motivated and engaged, and they can keep it going, and we're just going to create the kind of structure that if people want to, that they can keep it going and be rewarded for that.
I think, like I said, the biggest thing that when I talk to you, I remind myself is I think a lot of founders will justify compromising on things, right? I had to underpay this person, or I had to treat them a little bit badly because I'm a founder. And if I don't do this, it won't be just them without a job, it'll be me without a job. And I think there's so much justification that you going into it with the lens, I need to make sure that I am treating people the way that I want to be treated, right? Simple enough a sentence. How do you think that slowed down or made your growth any faster?
Well, trying to think of what the essence of this question is, of what you really want to know. Okay, a couple things. We made our own products, and that was a very practical thing because we're really makers, not marketers, and we are actually really interested in ingredients and how to do things and how to do things well and right. And we were making products for ourselves and for our kids and from our families and our community. So it wasn't like, we weren't gathering data about she who's shopping over there. It was like, hey, what do you think? Do you like this? I'd bring samples to dinner with Joan and Margaret. We'd pass things around, and say, is it this or is it that? So it was very organic, for real. And so there was never a big marketing machine or the demand for growth because we never took the money. We took what we needed and not more from, small angel investors, so that we were always having to be careful how we grew, learn what that meant, not make a lot of money, but certainly not lose money, and learn the whole scope as we went. And we were fortunate enough to be in the natural products market, when it was just on its way up. Whole Foods had 40 stores. We had to fight for every store. I had to, all the kids and all the friends, and, we would call Guerrilla Market to EO, be like, hello, do you have EO? And because they wouldn't bring us in. It's like, no. I was like, okay, thank you. And we would do that, the community board, and then finally one store at a time. And, the whole industry was sort of at the front end. So that's been a really complicated and beautiful process. But I just came back from our 31st trade show, the Natural Products Expo. And I have to say, it's kind of like this. It's community and so much love and support and commitment and a sense of purpose for what we believe in. So it just, expands love, expands purpose, expands community. And money just doesn't really do that in the same way. It does other things. Yeah, but it certainly can't take the place of that. And I've also seen that quite a bit, with people who have sold out, then they got a pile of money, and then they don't know what to do when they wake up in the morning, So that's like a whole nother thing, but that's for a different conversation.
So in the spirit of not selling out, I'm going to bring over Margaret O'Leary. You seemed indecisive. You didn't seem sure about coming up. You sat there for a second. You were like, do I want to go?
Yes, I am the shyest of the three, right? You're making me nervous, Ollie.
So Margaret O'Leary is the founder and designer behind her namesake fashion label, Margaret O'Leary, known for timeless, high-quality knitwear and understanding understated luxury. She launched the brand in San Francisco in 1989, inspired by her Irish heritage and a commitment to craftsmanship. Over the years, Margaret has built a loyal following by focusing on natural fibers, clean silhouettes, and pieces designed to last. Today, her brand remains independently owned with boutiques across the United States and continues to champion slow fashion in an industry driven by trends. Would you say that's a pretty good description?
You got it. You got it.
So I'm gonna hit you with the same question.
Okay.
Legacy is something that outlives you.
Yeah. Okay,
Legacy is something that outlives you.
me. Okay, it does. It will.
It will.
Okay, so you mean my brand will outlive me?
Your brand will outlive you.
me. Yeah. Okay.
What do you want it to mean?
I'm down.
What do you want it to be about?
I just make things that I love for me and my friends. And I'm just, it's something authentic. I say, oh, what do I need next to my wardrobe? And so living here in Mill Valley, there's a certain lifestyle, everybody wears sweaters. You have the Gymboree lady here, the soap lady. Well, I'm the sweater lady, right? So it's like, I'm that, right? So that's what people call me,
The sweater lady?
The sweater lady. Yeah, I make other things, but they just call me the sweater lady. So I love what I do. And that's really how I've come to this business. And as for the legacy, I have a small business, as most of you know, and I've decided, yeah, I'm not going to live forever, so what do? I have wonderful people working for me. I have about 52 employees. So I decided I would make my company an employee-owned company. Maybe you know this term called ESOP, Employee Stock Ownership Plan. So I haven't transferred my company to my employees, where with each successive year they work, they get more shares.
Wow.
I could have taken venture capital money, but I don't think they deal with me.
So that's really, really interesting because I emailed Joan like 3 weeks ago and I was like, hey, I'm building out another venue in San Francisco. I think I might want to raise money because I want to start building that track record with investors because I took investment on my first one. I want to do another one. And she said, what is the rush to grow? Why do you want to artificially grow? And I think, Joan, you took very, very, very little money, right? By today's standards.
Yeah.
You took very little money, Susan. You just took enough to be able to do the basic growth. And Margaret, you too. Why, what is the hesitation with taking venture-backed money, private equity? What is it against artificial growth? It's such an ugly word, artificial growth, but
No, it's forced. It's forced. It's because it's somebody else's idea and model of how they make money. It's not what is good for the business, what is good for people, how do we do this? You know, we're not building hospitals. We're not creating this crazy infrastructure that you actually need money for. So there are certain things that you just need what you need. But these sort of businesses, I think, why do they have to be pressured into growing at X? The reason is because if you take money from private equity, their fund lasts, X years. In order for them to make money, you're forced into pressured growth. And who wants that, really? I mean, some people do well with it. It's a very, very small percentage. And yet people are captivated by the idea and the model. And even people, the best of them who have won the game, still, I think, are what's questioned now for them is heart and meaning and purpose.
so let me play devil's advocate here, right? Just to kind of speak to the founder that's thinking, I want to be the first out, right? So I'm thinking about Gap, right? When Gap Kids was coming out, there was a little bit of a race to kind of get that market share first, right? So what do you say to the founder that's sitting there saying, now is my time. I need the money to be able to come out the door, the gate's ready to go. What would you say to that?
Not that interesting. Personally, I would say to that, I mean, for me, I could see how you could look at it that way, but it depends on what your values are and how you want to live. So do you want to be and what is that really saying? And what does that really do for the greater good and for yourself? I mean, that's, it's a tough call. And as entrepreneurs, look, when we were making, would get a $2 million order for hand sanitizer every week during COVID from Amazon on Monday, I thought, wow, this is insane. This is like, everyone loves what we do. They need us, I mean, nothing better than, it's like heroin for an entrepreneur. That was the upside, but the downside was daunting. Years of right sizing and inventory and crazy, So I think there's no free lunch, and you got to and most people don't really know that there's no free lunch because we don't believe it because it sounds so good and we want it to be true.
Yeah.
I want to say something. And Keith, I just want to say that I actually had a wonderful experience with venture capital. I'm kind of a little bit of an outsider here. And I could never have built my business without it. And even though the VCs, as Susan mentioned, have a size of a fund and they have so many years to make it happen, it never quite does. It always takes that many more years than they think it's going to. But they don't want to run your company. So if you're having your issues, which every company does, they're just going to dust you off, kick you off, and send you back out to keep going because they don't want to run it and they want to make sure that you can do it. So again, my comment to you was that you need to really, and from my perspective, my not so humble perspective, is that you need some more history of building what you're building and do it really well and have another couple of locations that you've done slowly and purposefully and built the market in different locations, not just in Sausalito, California. And then you might be ready to see if you could take some venture money or raise your own money like my colleagues here did from private people and go from there. But again, I'm a little bit of an outsider because I did have a great experience with my VCs. And I was early on, and I was probably the first woman who received money as a consumer venture, or any woman. Again, I'm so old. I kind of break the mold here.
Do you want to say anything on that, Margaret?
I never took money because I thought it was like old-fashioned. You make money, you reinvest it, and you just grow slowly and organically. This is why I'm not a big company. I'm not a Gap, but I like it that way. So it's kind of small and sweet.
Yeah. I also really, really, really appreciate how whenever you guys talk about what you do, you're like, every third word is like, but I love it. But I love it. Do you think that was something that came very naturally to you? Do you think if you were in a different industry, it's just the growth and the building that you love? Or do you think it's your very, very specific products that you're building?
I actually never had a resume, so I don't know if I could even apply for a different industry. So I love it. I love what I do because there's always something new. Well, women always need new clothes, don't they? Yes. I kind of you can never have enough pants. You can never have enough jeans. There's always something new because there's a new color. So, whatever. So, right? Have you got enough clothes, Nikita?
I actually would say I have too many because I live between so many places. It's like, oh my God, I got to move this here. I got to move this here. But I might be an anomaly.
Don't you always want something new?
Again, I like systems. So I'm like, oh, I have 4 outfits. I love that. Simplicity.
We're going to change that.
We're going to change that.
We got a plan.
We'll take you to the Margaret O'Leary
Yes.
store.
I'm already going there.
We're going to make clothes. We're going to make clothes in Mumbai.
We're going to make clothes in Mumbai. I love it.
We're on it.
Perfect. If the 3 of you don't have anything else you want to add to that, I might open it up to get some questions and converse. Oh, wow. I didn't even finish that sentence. Okay. Yes.
Oh, well, this is actually for Joan. And my kids grew up my kids were born in the like kind of early 90s, and we were Gymboree kids, and we even knew the people that were like behind you from the very beginning. And I love Gymboree, but like when I think about you and your legacy, it's the yoga studio.
Oh, wow.
No one has mentioned that. Like, I got into yoga at the yoga studio at Larkspur Landing when it was the Larkspur Landing.
Oh.
And it was life-changing for me. So when I ever hear Joan Burns, like, I think of yoga, not Gymboree. So I just want you to know that your legacy is not just Gymboree.
Thank you. And ironically, I got into yoga as a healing for my own downfall from building Gymboree. Yoga was the woman with whom I started the forerunner of Gymboree with Kinder Gym at the Jewish Community Center. She called me up when I came back from the treatment center and said, would you come to a yoga class with me? And I'm thinking, yoga? You know, I'm a mountain biker, I'm an aerobics girl, I don't do yoga. And I said, well, friendship trumps, community trumps, I will go with you. And I fell in love from the first class. I burst out crying. I love being in the community with it. And because I'm sort of an entrepreneur, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to start yoga studios.
Sort of an entrepreneur.
I just do want to add that it did change when it.
Got to a yoga.
I just have to say it did change. So.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I can think every entrepreneur, if they have their company sells to somebody else, it will always change. In my case, I started to feel all that craziness that happened when I was building Gymboree, and I just could not go through that again. And as I like to say, I lost my privilege of being an entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurialism, don't get me wrong. I love watching my girlfriends and so many of you that I know who are building your own businesses or concepts. Nikita, I'd love to be helpful to you, but I personally can't do it anymore because I become obsessed and I can't let it fail, and I lose everything else that's important to me. That's just my downfall. So I have to accommodate that. But thank you for saying that about the yoga studio. And I see so many of my right next to you is one of my fellow yogis. We see each other pretty much every day in class.
So before I take the next one, I want to ask Susan, you were very, very, very good at balance. How did you balance? Like, I feel like everyone could, especially like leading in from that conversation, how did you make it all happen? You had kids, you had the company.
Yeah, I think one of the things is we worked very close to where the kids were. So manufacturing in Marin is an oxymoron. It's ridiculous. It's, you can't do it, da, da, da. But I was unwilling to be on the other side of the bridge. And so if my life were to have, I would say presence, maybe not balance, but then we had to be in proximity. And then we carried that on because I really understood the difference of rushing over the bridge one time when my son got hurt playing basketball and he was in the ER, and I, just the torture of, proximity when it's not in your favor. And there's so much more peace and power when it is in your favor. So that's why we manufacture in Marin. And we still do, even though my kids are quite a bit older. So balance, not balance, it's more presence, I think. And I've been a Zen Buddhist student for 35 years in a very committed and devotional way, I would say. So, and that's been foundational for me because the most important thing to me, even though I love work and I love to create beauty, are relationships. And the people I love and I love the most it's the most important thing. Love wins, it's solid.
Do we have any other questions from, oh,
I have a question for you. When you were launching your product and when you were just starting off, how did you know how to get your products out there, who to reach out to? And I know there's a lot of regulations when making products. How did you find the right people to package and make it with the regulation?
We did it ourselves. And so we weren't that concerned and we were pretty much under the radar. And I learned from other companies. So, and it was really small and sort of one store at a time. And then I got a $32,000 order from Birkenstock for a private label craft box with a little foot salt and a little foot oil that had to be hand stamped. And I had an order for 10,000 of them. And my boyfriend at the time, who was closing down his clothing company, Brad, came down and he said, "You're never going to be able to do this by hand." I'm like, "I don't care what we have to do. I will get every person I know. We'll stay up for whatever." He's like, "No, gravity feed." And he had me at gravity feed and he jury-rigged a little, filler. And so all of our experience has been from really doing and learning as quickly as we could.
Did you launch them online on the internet? Like, how did
Oh no, it wasn't here yet. That was
Not for another
90
20 years.
That was 95.
15.
Exactly. So, right, you don't remember life without it. But, we launched, we launched in Bloomingdale's holiday catalog in 95, 4 little blends, which I mixed up in our kitchen. And yeah.
Yeah, there was even no cell phones back then.
Right.
I think Patty, the councilwoman in the back, has a question.
One question. So you three were creating your companies while you were friends and all kind of coming up together at the same time?
Yep.
Was that like sibling rivalry? Somebody did it and the other two had to do it too? How did that work? What a great question.
That's a good question. We were partners originally. And then started making sweaters we both lived in San Francisco, and I started making sweaters, and Susan knew everything about fashion, and she said, I'm going to show you how this works. Do this, do that. She had a retail clothing store in San Francisco at the same time. So, yeah, that's how we know each other.
Expand on that, please.
Expand on that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there was not enough money, so she said, I'm going to get myself another job, Margaret, because there's no
I got a
money
kid,
here.
Yeah.
I got to
Gotta
support
pay the
my
rent.
little
Yeah.
2-year-old at the time, and she got a job at, that company Esprit back then? Yes. And then she would tell me all the trends that Esprit had. So if lime green was the color of the season, I was right on it without having to pay for any of the trends.
It was my side hustle. And we were fast friends and best friends from the time we met,
And there was
sibling rivalry, though? Never. It was, we would, get together for dinner, get together for a tea, and it was go around the circle, but whoever sort of had the biggest problem went first. So no, it wasn't like that. No, it was so much kindness and love and respect and mutuality that no rivalry.
And to add to that, I came in a little bit later, maybe 10 years later, into this wonderful world of Margaret and Susan, and we would have dinner, I don't know, once a month at least. And what was really fascinating to me was just because we were, even though it was starting, women were becoming more involved in professionally and doing their own businesses, we were still a little bit ahead of our time. And it was really supporting and community for us to be able to share with each other. And whoever got the floor at dinner was the one who had the biggest issue at the moment. And we were kind of a non-paid consultants to one another. So it was fantastic. And now I'm out of business. They're still in it, and so I get a vicarious thrill out of hearing what's going on with them.
And wisdom. Always, perspective.
Why do you think that was? Why do you think there wasn't that rivalry, right? Why wasn't there animosity when you went and got another position? Why did it work so well?
I can't even, it's almost like when the Wall Street Journal asked us during COVID if we raised prices on sanitizer. And I was like, wait, we're in the middle of a public health crisis and we should have, given what happened on the other side. But it's like, where? So we're friends. We care about each other. Friends come first. Relationships come first. Our values are aligned. We know who we are. We know it's important.
It's really alien to me to think about being competitive.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't think it would be alien to a lot of other people. So it's
yeah.
interesting.
It's an interesting question. Yeah.
I think it's amazing your friendship, but did you find that other women were maybe not as supportive of your success or competitive? I think a lot of really successful women are asked, oh, did you have trouble with men? And I have found in my career, more often than not, it was other women that were not as supportive, not friends, because friends are always the best, but other maybe people in staff.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience that?
Well, again, I sound like a little bit of an outlier, but everybody that I hired was women. I kept enough men around the Gymboree offices to keep the equal opportunities people away. But I love working with women, and I didn't, and I, that we weren't friends like Margaret, Susan, and I are, but the respect, and the camaraderie, the ability to think the way women think, be able to, all of a sudden have a crazy thought and go to it and then get right back on track. Whereas men are like, what? I'm doing this, you know what I mean? And I had, several hundred franchisees, and they were all sort of, quote, in my image, just a little bit younger, but they were also their own business people. And I just never wanted to let them down and keep them. And so we were all cared for each other too. So them.
I just wanted to touch upon, you guys are the best friends that anyone could ever ask for as a model of friends to one another and to other women and to other people in general. But one question is about mentorship, because as you're talking about, you're giving your company to your employees, or you're allowing them to participate, and you guys have always all mentored many people. So what does mentorship mean to you, and how are you practicing that?
That's a great question.
You get calls. Yeah, people reach out, they're saying, oh, I'm starting out in life. How do I do this? How do I do that? And you say what you know, or you tell them your version of it. They will not yet have lived through all the ups and downs, but you have your dream, I always say, and do what you love. And don't gamble more than you can afford to lose.
That's our girl. Yeah. I would say, I'm the oldest of three, and my two younger sisters, one owns Tamalpais Pizza in Mill Valley, and the other for the 15 years, and has done many other entrepreneurial things. And my other sister has Hazel's Kitchen in Potrero Hill, single mom, raised twins, 35 years. So it's like, well, we're your parents, aren't you? We get, yes, my dad, who's still with us at 92, entrepreneurial, but spent his career working for others. He ran hospitals. But I would say for us, we were kind of unemployable because we were so bossy. And that's kind of, how we rolled. But my dad really supported that. And so, and was always saying, you need a power base, you need your own money, you need, so anyway, it ended up that way. And I think that it's in everyone's best interest to help as many people as we can do what it is that they want to do, because so many people helped us.
I consider mentoring women who are seeking assistance an enormous privilege. And because I don't work anymore, that's what I get to do. And I used to do it, as a, quote, paid consultant kind of thing. And that just didn't really resonate for me. I didn't want your money. I wanted to be of service to you. But I did have a bit of a caveat. another truth telling. If I didn't think the women who came to me with their ideas could pull it off, I didn't want to do it. And that was just my own personal judgment. I didn't want to waste their time, and I didn't want to waste my time. So I would spend infinite amount of time with people who I felt could really pull this off, had the je ne sais quoi to be able to make it happen. Like our friend here, Nikita, could do that. I can absolutely see
Thank you.
that.
I was sitting here, I was like, do I want to know? Do I want to know? It was literally going on repeat in my mind. I was like, whew.
You're already doing it.
Hi,
You're already
I
doing
can let
it.
loose now.
But thanks for the question, Zem. And Zem does it too in her life.
Yeah, all the time.
You're an enormous mentor to other women.
All three of you have spent a large majority, without outwardly saying it, talking about your values. That's coming through. You don't even have to say what your values are. That clearly is something that you lead with first. And you just said it. What is that je ne sais quoi? You guys are looking to continue your legacies. What is that thing that you see in someone or feel in someone? Can you articulate what that quality is that you go, that's the person that I trust with my legacy?
Who wants to take that? I will answer it because I'm the one that outed myself, that I don't really like working with people that my intuition is they won't be able to pull it off. And there is no hard and fast. I don't have any, oh, it's because they don't have this or this one has that. It's just an intuition. And as Oprah says, her GPS is her intuition. I mean, even in running a business, I could get all the research in the world on my desk, and I still would make the decision based on how I felt. And so it's just a personal judgment that we all do. We're all human beings, and we judge one another, even though we like to think we're not judgmental. I believe we are.
Yeah. I wish I knew the answer to that, because then, we could solve a lot of things with that one answer. But it varies. It depends on how curious and open they are, how passionate they are, how committed, and really sort of how emotionally and otherwise intelligent. And those are some of the qualities. And love is important in there also. And shared values.
Can I just ask all of you, because there are a lot of businesses still sort of reeling from the pandemic, and Susan, you brought up the point coming out of that. I'm just wondering, how did you guys overcome those challenges of the adversity and just that, to move on, be courageous through that?
Well, I woke up one day and looked at our inventory number in December. And I had knee replacement surgery before my 65th birthday, and it was 2020, maybe. And I looked at that I don't know why I hadn't looked at it, because we were just cooking, and I thought, we're in trouble. I can already feel it, And then started sort of exploring more and what are contracts like for the next. It's like no one really stopped the train. So I knew that we were going to be in trouble. I just didn't know how bad it was going to be. And it was bad, So adversity, I don't know. It's like one day at a time, and you just try to do the next right thing. And, we were pretty good at not going out of business, and we had good relationships, and our bank was very accommodating. So, we had some track record before that. So we weathered that storm. But it was touch and go, it was very, very stressful. Mm-hmm.
The pandemic. I had a lot of expensive inventory, and everybody just wanted PJs. So I had to flip that switch and make sweatpants. And it worked. And masks, right? I got into making masks. It was my number one seller. But hey, we survived.
Get creative.
Yeah.
Did you do the mask under your own name?
Yeah.
Well, my story isn't quite as great. I was already gone, and the CEO at the time had just come from the Gap, and he ran it into the ground, and it went through two bankruptcies um, during the pandemic, and basically, in so many words, went out of business, changed hands. So a Chinese company bought the franchise play program, which still operates, and then Children's Place, which is a major lower end retailer, bought the name Gymboree, the URL, no inventory, no retail store, nothing, no leases for a lot of money, almost $100 million just for the name. And now they're both doing quite well. So it will live past me in a different iteration, but not everybody was, Susan came through her inventory problems and figured out how to get rid of excess inventory. Margaret pivoted and made clothes that were going to be more suitable. Maybe you want to share what's going on with you.
We're just a small doggy daycare in Marin, San Francisco, and it's just been, one thing after another, having to buy real estate, but it's, it's every day the dogs get us through it. But it's just so interesting to know from these really strong and inspiring women how they get through it. Sorry, I didn't mean to go down the path.
No, it's very real. Yeah.
I also think that we might be getting a little antsy, some of us sitting here for a little bit. So I might do a quick closing remarks unless there are any more burning questions that we want to get. Oh, wow, there's a very burning question. She said to hold the mic closer to the mouth.
Thank you. We want to hear you.
But, we got one more.
So I know that the answer to my question we cannot fix today, but I'm hoping that you ladies can give us some guidance, right? Like I'm sitting here and thinking when you started your business, it's been like over 30 years. And as a female entrepreneur, I feel the same judgy eyes from other moms because I'm not able to be at every single event, volunteer at all the school activities, etc. And I'm just sitting here and thinking, how this hasn't changed in this many years. We still, as moms, feel the same judgment, and then you constantly trying to balance your work and career and trying to be successful and push through there. And then at the same time, you're also trying to be there for your kid, feeling the guilt that, oh my God, I wasn't there. The other parents don't help with that. From your experience, what are some things that we can change as a community to help women to go through that and change the perspective of the community overall?
Another really good question. You got everyone stumped.
Just get some really good friends who are in your situation, who can, are like-minded and can support you, because that all starts the change. And then with that momentum, there are a lot of female entrepreneurs here, right? So, yeah.
I also want to say, really it's about starting with knowing yourself and what's important to you. And so we won't please all the people all the time. And I think this thing called balance, as much as Susan represents to me probably the closest thing to what I would call balance, but it's more her character. And I know her quite well. She's just her considerations are just very balanced, if you will. She calls it mindfulness or attentiveness or presence. Presence. I would call it kind of knowing yourself. And I knew myself too. I was going to grow. I just, damn, screw those moms if they didn't like me. That's. But I also want to say, we're in a kind of a privileged community here, and so many women. There's no. It's not an alternative. It's not like, gee, I want to be self-expressed in the professional league. They have to work, and they do work. And two-income families are the norm. So we're in a little bit of a rarefied world even now. I started my business 47 years ago. So. So yes, the concept of being comparative to other people who are also trying to raise a family, it's just a deadly thing. It's kind of doesn't work. And Margaret, I'll let Margaret speak for herself, but Margaret's a little bit more like me in terms of really being professionally oriented.
You're making me speak.
Out yourself.
Ooh. Yeah, I raised kids, and had to. I wasn't at all the baseball games either. I would say to my son, because those baseball games were so long. Long. Let's see. Can you
Like basketball much.
can you just text me when you're up to bat? Because then he says, "You got it, Mom." So he looked out for me. So I thought it was cute.
So I'm going to take a second to say thank you so much to everybody that helped make this night happen. I want to do a round of applause for the ladies out here. I want to say a big thank you to Janelle and to Debbie.
And to Nikita. And to Nikita.
And I want to say a really big thank you to the celebrity we have sitting right there, very incognito. It's Marin Buzz, Brian. Yeah, he's right there. You want to come say a couple words? You want to come sit? No? Okay, well, thank you so much for very, very, very eloquently telling the story of what we were going to do here today and getting, I would say, probably 80% of these people in here for a very, very powerful evening.
I just want to say one quick thing. This was so inspiring, and I know all three of you, and I learned so much. And it really made my day and night, and thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
We love you,
Thank
Amber.
Amber.
We love you, Amber.
Amber's
And-
part of our intimate community.
Yes, we love you, Amber.
We love you, Amber.
I want to say, we want to say thank you to you.
Thank you to
Thank
you.
you to Nikita.
You are the star.
You are the star.
Take a bow.
Take a bow.
Take a bow.
And then I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors for this evening. They are all the companies that you'll see out here. Starting on this side, we have VO2. They are it's the cleanest adhesive mouth tape. And you guys will all get to take some home. So I should start with that. The bags that you have on your chair, those are your tote bags. And I want you to come out here and grab all the sponsored products. Yeah, shop. I like that. So we spend so much time figuring out how to take ourselves one step forward in terms of our brains and our companies and our families and all of these things. And I hope that these products, when you see them on your nightstand and everywhere else, will be a very good reminder to do so with your wellness as well. So they're all very, very wellness-oriented products, right? And yeah, I think you'll enjoy them. So come on down and grab some stuff. Thank you.